Every Halloween, a payment must be made, or the veil breaks.
There are 41,000 towns in America. Most of them celebrate Halloween with candy and costumes and harmless fun. Sanctuary Falls is not one of them. October 31st, 2019, 11:47 p.m. A 19-year-old college student named Maya Chen runs through the woods behind the old Methodist church. Flashlight beam cutting through fog, breath coming in ragged gasps. She's searching for her grandmother. She finds her, kneeling. Circle of 13 elders surrounding her, candles burning in a pattern that predates Christianity, and her grandmother, strong, sharp, the woman who raised her, speaking words that don't sound like any language Maya has ever heard. Maya doesn't understand what she's seeing, not yet. She only knows that something is terribly, fundamentally wrong. "Grandma, what are you doing?" The words shatter the ritual. The candles go out simultaneously. Silence falls like a weight. And then from somewhere in the darkness beyond the trees, something laughs. This is the story of what happens when a 400-year-old debt come due. When the dead refuse to stay buried. When a town discovers that the price of survival was always going to be paid eventually. This is the story of the Halloween Treaty and the night it broke. The first winter, to understand what Maya interrupted, you need to understand 1624. The Massachusetts Bay Colony is 3 years old. The Mayflower Pilgrims have established Plymouth, but dozens of smaller settlements dot the coastline, desperate ventures by religious refugees fleeing persecution in England. Most fail. Disease, starvation, harsh winters that European constitutions aren't prepared for. One settlement calls itself New Sanctuary. 47 souls, families, children, true believers who thought God would provide. God doesn't provide. By October 1624, 32 of the 47 are dead. Starvation, scurvy, dysentery. The survivors are skeletal. They've eaten the horses, the dogs, even boiled leather from their shoes. They're facing their final winter, and everyone knows they won't see spring. The leader is a man named Jeremiah Chen. Yes, that Chen. Maya's ancestor, though she doesn't know it yet. Jeremiah is desperate. He's watched his wife die, 2 of his 3 children. He's a man of God, but God's voice has gone silent. So, on October 30th, 1624, as the first snow begins to fall, Jeremiah does something no Puritan should do. He goes into the woods, and he prays to whatever is listening. Something answers. The ritual, how it worked. For 395 years, the ritual is performed exactly the same way. A council of 13 elders, always 13, always the oldest families, always descendants of the original survivors, maintains the knowledge. They identify candidates. They explain the choice. They never force. The treaty requires willing sacrifice. Most volunteers are elderly, people who've lived full lives and are ready to let go. People with terminal diagnoses who want their final act to mean something. People who believe in duty, tradition, sacrifice for the greater good. The ritual itself is precise. October 31st, 11:47 p.m. in the Gray Place, the same forest clearing where Jeremiah made the original bargain. 13 witnesses. Circle of candles arranged in a pattern that predates written language. Words in a tongue that isn't quite human. The volunteer kneels in the center, speaks the words of consent, and then something comes. The witnesses describe it differently. Some see shadow. Some see light. Some see nothing but feel a presence, vast and cold and ancient. It touches the volunteer's forehead. The transfer takes 13 minutes. By midnight, it's complete. The volunteer stands, eyes blank, mind empty. The witnesses lead them home. By morning, they wake as someone new. No memory of who they were, but physically unharmed. Most are placed in the county care facility, where they live out their years in quiet confusion. The town records list them as Alzheimer's patients, early onset dementia. Nobody questions it. And Sanctuary Falls prospers. Lowest crime rate in Massachusetts, highest average income, best schools, healthiest population, business thrive, children grow strong. Nobody dies young unless they leave town. The pattern holds for nearly 4 centuries, until Maya Chen comes home for Halloween weekend, 2019. Maya Chen, the disruptor. Maya doesn't believe in the supernatural. She's a sophomore at Boston University, majoring in computer science, planning a future in international law. She's logical, rational, the kind of person who rolled her eyes at ghost stories as a child. She comes home for Halloween weekend because her grandmother asked her to. Grandmother Maya Chen, 74 years old, the woman who raised Maya after her parents died in a car accident when Maya was 8. Maya notices her grandmother acting strangely, giving away possessions, hugging too long, saying goodbye in a way that feels final. "Are you sick?" Maya asks. "No, darling. I'm just preparing." "For what?" Grandmother Leanne smiles. "For service." Maya doesn't understand. She follows her grandmother on Halloween night, watches her leave the house at 11:30 p.m., follows her into the woods, finds the clearing, the circle, the ritual. At 11:47 p.m., October 31st, 2019, Maya bursts in. "Grandma, stop! What are you doing?" The words break the circle. The pattern disrupts. The ancient syllables fragment mid-sentence. The candles extinguish, all 13, simultaneously, not blown out, snuffed, as if reality itself rejected them. For 7 seconds, nothing happens. The 13 elders stare at Maya in frozen horror. Grandmother Leanne's face shows love and terror mixed together. Then, from the forest beyond, a sound. Not a voice, not an animal. A sound like reality tearing, like the universe taking a breath it shouldn't need to take. One of the elders, a man named Samuel Price, whispers, "Oh God, what have you done?" At 11:48 p.m., October 31st, 2019, the Halloween treaty breaks and the dead begin to wake. 11:48 p.m. The first returns. Sarah Mitchell dies at 11:03 p.m. in a car accident on Route 128, 17 miles from Sanctuary Falls. Head-on collision with a drunk driver. Instant death. Her body is in the county morgue awaiting autopsy. At 11:48 p.m., Sarah Mitchell opens her eyes in the clearing where Maya interrupted the ritual. She's wearing the same clothes she died in, jeans, Sanctuary Falls high school sweatshirt, both soaked in blood. She has a compound fracture in her right arm, visible bone. The left side of her face is caved in. She looks at her hands, at the blood, at the people staring at her. "What happened?" she asks. Her voice is wrong. It bubbles through a crushed larynx. "Why does everything hurt? Where's my mom?" She's the first. She won't be the last. At 11:49 p.m. in Sanctuary Falls Cemetery, the ground begins to shift. Midnight. The deluge. By midnight, 127 dead have returned. They manifest where they died, then immediately begin moving toward the center of town. It's not voluntary. They're drawn there, pulled by the same force that brought them back. Robert Chen, Maya's father, dead 11 years in a car accident, appears on Highway 27. He's crushed from the waist down, internal organs visible, but he's walking, dragging himself forward. Margaret Price, Samuel Price's wife, dead from cancer 3 months ago, materializes in their bedroom. Her body shows the ravages of stage 4 lymphoma, skeletal, skin yellowed, tumors visible. She looks at her husband. "Sam? I was I was dying. Why am I here? Why does it still hurt? These aren't zombies. They're not mindless. They're fully conscious, fully themselves, trapped in bodies that remember their deaths. They're in pain. They're confused. They're terrified. And they keep coming. 1842, 7 settlers who died in a cholera outbreak, still vomiting, still convulsing. 1918, 16 flu victims, lungs destroyed, drowning in fluid that won't stop. 1944, 3 soldiers from World War II, home on leave, killed in a factory accident, bodies mangled by machinery. 1987, a teenager named Jennifer Wu who drowned in Lake Sanctuary. Waterlogged, bloated, fish-eaten. They converge on the town square. 2,000 dead spanning 4 centuries, all in the state they were at death, all conscious, all suffering, and none of them can leave. The barrier. Maya tries to drive out of town at 12:17 a.m. She gets 3 miles down Route 27 before the road loops back. She's driving straight, speedometer reading 60 miles per hour, but somehow she's approaching Sanctuary Falls again from the opposite direction. She tries 6 more times. Different roads, different directions. Same result. The town is sealed. Cell phone calls don't work beyond town limits. They connect, but on the other end, people hear only static. Or worse, they hear screaming that isn't coming from anyone visible. The internet works, but every attempt to contact the outside world gets corrupted. Emails vanish, social media posts delete themselves, live streams freeze at the exact moment someone mentions what's happening. Sanctuary Falls has become a pocket universe, separated, sealed, trapped. And in the darkness beyond the town lights, something moves. The keepers, the original entities, the things Jeremiah bargained with. They're not happy about the broken contract. The council explains. At 1 a.m., Samuel Price gathers the 13 elders and Maya in the Methodist church. Maya's grandmother is there, shaken but alive. The ritual was interrupted before her memory could be taken. Samuel is 89 years old. He's been on the council for 60 years. He's seen 5 rituals. He explains everything to Maya, his voice shaking with equal parts grief and fury. Your ancestor made a choice in 1624, survival in exchange for payment. Every 7 years, one person gives their memory. It's not death, it's transformation. They lose themselves but gain peace. And the town thrives. That's insane, Maya says. You're telling me we've been sacrificing people for 400 years to appease some kind of, what, monsters? Not monsters, guardians. The veil between our world and the afterlife is real. It's thin. It requires maintenance. They maintain it. We provide the energy. And now? Now the contract is broken. The veil is shattered. Every person who died with ties to Sanctuary Falls, family, residents, even visiting, is being pulled back here. They're trapped here with us until we fix it. How do we fix it? Samuel looks at her with eyes that have seen too much. 7 years of memory per person, that's the standard rate. We missed 1 payment, but breaking the contract means we owe penalty interest, compound interest. How much? 56 people, all at once, all willing, all giving their memories completely by dawn on November 2nd. The number hangs in the air. 56 people. 56 entire lives erased. That's insane. We can't. The alternative, Samuel interrupts, is that at dawn on November 2nd, the barrier dissolves and everything contained here spreads. Every dead person connected to this town returns worldwide. Millions, maybe billions if the contamination spreads. The veil doesn't just break locally, it breaks everywhere. Maya looks at her grandmother. You knew. You were going to do this. I volunteered, Grandmother Leanne says softly. I've lived a good life. I was ready. But I stopped you, and now 56 people have to pay instead of 1? Now, Samuel says, we have 36 hours to convince 56 people to volunteer, or we find another way. In the silence that follows, from outside they hear the moaning. 2,000 dead, suffering, waiting.
The dead speak. Not all the returned dead are hostile. Most are just confused, suffering, looking for answers. At 2 a.m., Maya goes to the town square. She needs to see this, to understand. The square's filled with figures. Some recent, bodies relatively intact. Others ancient, barely recognizable as human. They don't attack. They just stand there, waiting, hurting. Maya finds her father, Robert Chen, or what's left of him. The car accident crushed him from the chest down. He shouldn't be able to stand, but he does, held upright by whatever force brought him back. Dad? He turns. Recognition flares in his eyes. Maya, is that you? You're so grown. How long has it been? 11 years, Dad. 11. He looks down at his destroyed body. I'm dead, aren't I? Yes. But I'm here. Why am I here? Why does it hurt so much? I thought death was supposed to be rest. Maya has no answer. She just holds his hand, cold, but still her father's hand. Around them, others are having similar reunions, crying, explaining, trying to understand. The living and dead, together, all trapped, all suffering. A woman from 1876, dead in childbirth, holds her stomach and sobs. She's been in pain for 143 years, and now she's conscious to experience it. A man from 1952, killed in the Korean War, looks at his missing legs and asks if anyone knows how the war ended. Did we win? Was it worth it? These aren't monsters. They're victims. The treaty didn't keep them peacefully dead. It kept them stored, suspended. And now they're all back, all at once, all suffering. The keepers appear. At 3 a.m., the original entities manifest. They don't appear suddenly. They seep into reality like ink spreading in water, shadows that move wrong, spaces where light bends, temperatures that drop 20 degrees in a localized area. The 13 elders recognize them. These are the things Jeremiah bargained with, the guardians of the threshold. They don't speak in words. They communicate in understanding, direct knowledge implanted in minds. Everyone in Sanctuary Falls receives the message simultaneously. The contract is broken. Payment is due. 56 memories by dawn, November 2nd, or everyone remains between worlds forever. Maya feels the message like ice in her brain. She understands, with terrible clarity, what between worlds forever means. Not death, not life. Permanent suspension, conscious suffering, for eternity. The entire town, 8,000 living, 2,000 dead, all frozen in this moment forever. We have to give them what they want, Samuel Price says. 56 volunteers, it's the only way. There has to be another option, Maya insists. There isn't. This is the price. This has always been the price. But Maya is young. She's educated. She spent 2 years studying computer science, learning about systems and algorithms and finding loopholes. Every system has an exploit, even supernatural ones. This isn't a computer program, girl. This is ancient. This is fundamental. Everything with rules can be negotiated. She looks at the entities, at the shadows that aren't quite solid, at the things that maintain the veil, and she realizes something. They need this town. They need the payment. They've been feeding off it for 400 years. What happens to you if we stop paying? She asks aloud. The shadows coalesce. The temperature drops further. The answer comes. We exist. You do not. But you need us, Maya presses. You've maintained this treaty for 4 centuries. You kept the town prosperous. Why? Because you need the energy. You need the memories. You're not doing us a favor.
We're doing you a service. The entities don't respond, but they don't deny it either. Maya looks at the council, at her grandmother, at the 2,000 dead suffering in the square. I want to renegotiate. The negotiation, renegotiating with entities beyond human comprehension, is not a calm process. The shadows circle Maya. She feels them in her mind, probing, testing, searching for weakness. She feels memories being examined, childhood, parents' death, grandmother's love, college struggles. They're reading her, learning her, trying to understand what she wants. Payment is due. Terms were set. Terms can change. You changed them once. From immediate survival to 400 years of prosperity. Change them again. Why would we? Because if you don't, I'm going to convince everyone in this town to refuse. All 8,000 of us. You'll get nothing. And if you force us, if you keep us here forever, you'll never get payment again. You'll have to find another town, make another bargain, start over. You would doom your people to eternal suspension, to negotiate. I would. Because your system is broken. 56 people for one missed payment? That's not justice, that's exploitation. And if this is really about maintaining the veil, about keeping the world separate, then you need us more than we need you. Silence. The shadows don't move. The temperature stays frigid. Then, what do you propose? New terms. We still pay, but differently. Not memory. That's too cruel. The volunteers don't deserve to lose themselves. Memory is the currency. Selfhood is the price. Then take it from everyone. 1 day per person per year. 8,000 residents give 1 day of memory annually. Spread the cost. No one loses everything. No one is destroyed. The total payment is actually higher than what you've been getting. The entities pause, calculating, considering. 1 day per person, 8,000 people, equal to 21.9 years of full memory. Acceptable. But the current debt is one payment plus penalties. Call it 14 years of memory, accounting for your interest. We'll pay it now, tonight. Everyone in town gives 2 days of memory. We'll lose 48 hours of memory, wake up not remembering Halloween. But we keep ourselves. We keep our identities. And the dead? Send them back. Peacefully. Let them rest. They've suffered enough. The shadows circle closer. Maya can feel them in her skull now, weighing her proposal, examining it for loopholes. Acceptable, but one condition. What? You carry the memory. You alone will remember what happened, what was paid, what is owed. You become the keeper. You ensure payment every year. If you fail, the debt returns, and next time, there is no negotiation. Maya understands. She's volunteering herself for a lifetime burden. She'll remember Halloween 2019 forever. She'll remember the dead, the horror, the suffering. And every year, she'll have to make sure the payment is made. She looks at her father, dead 11 years, but standing here broken and suffering. She looks at the 2,000 others. She looks at her grandmother, who was ready to give herself up completely. I accept, Maya says. The new payment. At 4 a.m., November 1st, 2019, the entire town gathers in the square, living and dead together. The entities explain the new terms through the same mind-to-mind communication they used before. Everyone understands. Give 2 days of memory now, 1 day per year forever, or refuse and remain here, suspended, suffering, eternal. It's not a hard choice. 2 days versus oblivion. At 4:13 a.m., the payment begins. It's not painful. It's almost peaceful. People close their eyes, the entities move through the crowd, shadow touching forehead after forehead. Memories drain like water through fingers. Maya watches. She's the only one who will remember, the only one who will carry this. The dead fade as the payment processes. Not violently, not with screams. They simply rest, finally. Sarah Mitchell, the car accident victim, smiles at Maya before she dissolves into light. "Thank you," she whispers. Robert Chen looks at his daughter one last time. "I'm proud of you, baby. Be good." And then he's gone. Truly gone this time. At peace. By 5 a.m., all 2,000 dead have returned to wherever the dead belong. The living remain, eyes closed, giving their payment. By 5:47 a.m., it's complete. At 5:48 a.m., the barriers dissolve. The town reconnects to the outside world. Roads lead out again. Phones work. The internet flows normally. At 6 a.m., 8,000 people wake up in Sanctuary Falls with no memory of the previous 48 hours. They know it's November 1st. They remember October 29th. Everything in between is blank. They don't know what they lost. They don't know what was paid. They don't know how close they came to eternal horror. Only Maya knows, and she will carry that knowledge alone. Aftermath: The Keeper's Burden. Maya returns to Boston University on November 3rd. She tells her roommate she had the flu, that Halloween weekend is a blur, that she's fine. She's not fine. She remembers everything. Her father's crushed body, the 2,000 dead suffering, the shadows that hold reality together, the burden of ensuring payment every year. Every Halloween, she must return to Sanctuary Falls. She must remind the council. She must ensure the ritual, now a simple gathering where everyone willingly gives one day of memory. It's painless. Most people don't even notice losing a single day. But Maya notices. Maya remembers. Maya carries the weight of 400 years of suffering and the knowledge that if she ever fails, it begins again. Her grandmother doesn't remember volunteering, doesn't remember the ritual Maya interrupted. She just knows she loves her granddaughter and is glad she came home for Halloween. Maya can never tell her what she saved her from. The town continues to prosper, lowest crime, best schools, healthiest population. Nobody questions it. Nobody knows the price. Except Maya. She graduates in 2021, gets a job in artificial intelligence, builds a normal life, gets married in 2025, has a daughter in 2027. And every October 31st, she goes home, she performs the ritual, she ensures payment. She protects 8,000 people who don't know they need protecting. In 2047, when her daughter turns 18, Maya sits her down and tells her everything. The treaty, the dead, the shadows, the burden. "Why are you telling me this?" her daughter asks. "Because I'm 68 years old, I'm tired, and someone needs to take over. Someone needs to remember. Someone needs to be the keeper." Her daughter looks at her like she's crazy. "That's insane. That's not real." Maya shows her the proof. The ancient ledger from 1624, hidden in the church basement. The names of every volunteer across 4 centuries. The documentation of her negotiation. It's real, and it's your inheritance. Your ancestor made a choice in 1624. I modified it in 2019, but the debt remains, and someone must ensure it's paid. Her daughter becomes the next keeper, and her granddaughter after that. The cycle continues. The Halloween Treaty, renegotiated, but not ended. Payment made annually, balance maintained. Some debts never fully clear. They just change forms. Reflection. The price of survival. What would you give to survive? Your life? That's simple. Everyone dies eventually. Your memory? Your identity? Yourself? That's harder. In 1624, Jeremiah Chen faced starvation and made a choice. Survive at any cost. Pay any price. Sacrifice who you have to sacrifice. For 395 years, his descendants honored that choice. One person every 7 years. Erased. Transformed into a living ghost with no past. The town thrived. The price was invisible to most. catastrophic to few. Was it worth it? Ask the volunteers who gave themselves willingly. Ask the families who prospered. Ask the children who grew up in a town where nothing bad ever happened. Then ask the people who paid. Ask them if losing yourself is worth feeding thousands. Maya Chen changed the equation. She distributed the cost, 1 day per person per year. Small enough that nobody really notices, large enough that the debt is paid. But here's the question that haunts her. Is a system that requires sacrifice to function a just system? Even if the sacrifice is invisible, even if it's shared, even if nobody suffers catastrophically, is it right? The entities that maintain the veil need energy. They've always needed it. Will always need it. The universe requires balance. Life and death must be separated. Someone must pay. But who decides? Who determines that Sanctuary Falls must be the town that carries this burden? Why not distribute it worldwide? Why not find another way entirely? Maya asked these questions. The entities had no answer. Or perhaps they did, and the answer was simply, because this is how it has always been. Tradition, precedent, the weight of history. We inherit debts we didn't create. We pay prices negotiated by ancestors we never met. We carry burdens we didn't choose. Closing thought. Every year, on October 31st, 8,000 people in Sanctuary Falls, Massachusetts, lose 1 day of memory. They wake up on November 1st with a blank spot in their past, a missing 24 hours they'll never recover. Most don't notice. Life goes on, the town prospers, children play, businesses thrive. Nobody dies young. But in a basement in the old Methodist church, an ancient ledger records every payment, every name, every sacrifice across 4 centuries. And one woman, or her daughter or her granddaughter, carries the memory of what happened on Halloween 2019, the night the veil broke, the night the dead returned, the night humanity renegotiated with forces beyond understanding. She remembers so others don't have to. She carries the burden so 8,000 others can live unburdened. Visual. Distant shot of small New England town at twilight. Lights beginning to glow in windows. Peaceful, imperfect, and utterly normal. While in foreground, a lone figure stands in the cemetery, looking at gravestones of the dead who briefly returned. Is this horror? Or is this mercy? Is this exploitation? Or is this simply the cost of existence in a universe that requires balance? The Halloween Treaty still stands, modified, renegotiated, but eternal. Because some doors, once opened, can never fully close. Some debts, once incurred, can never be fully paid. We can only hope that the burden is distributed fairly, that the cost is bearable, that the ones who remember and the ones who forget can both find peace in their own ways. And every Halloween, when the veil grows thin, we should remember there are forces in this world that predate humanity, forces that maintain the boundaries between life and death, and they require payment. The only question is who pays and how much and for how long. Sanctuary Falls has answered those questions for 400 years. Your town might have different answers, or it might not have thought about the questions at all. But the veil is thin, and somewhere, somehow, payment is always being made. You just don't remember it.